Yes, good morning. Next, welcome to the next session of Design of RC Structural Elements course. In module number 1, you have learned the various design philosophies or methods and the aspects to design the RC structural elements you have been learned. Next, let us get into the module number 2, that is limit state of analysis of beams. Okay. So in this limit state of analysis of beam, as we have been discussed, what is the meaning of limit state? Okay. Next, let us know what is the meaning of beam. So in the strength of materials, you have been came to know what exactly a beam means. Once again, I am going to define what is a beam. A beam is a horizontal structural member or element subjected to transverse load. Or I can say a beam is an horizontal member subjected to the load acting in perpendicular direction. This is the one way of defining. The another way of defining is a beam is a flexural member. It is a flexural member which try to resist the load mainly by bending. Mainly by bending. So this is the way we are going to define the beam. Next, what is the meaning of analysis of beam, or what is the meaning of analysis? So analysis means, as I stated, I have been defined the beam. The beam will be subjected to various types of loads, especially gravity loads. That is, mainly we have been discussed in module number 1. Okay, in the entire RC structural element, we are going to subject the structural elements like beam, column, slabs to the gravity loads only, that is dead load and live load. We will define that all those things. Okay, dead load and live load. Okay, so whenever any structural element subjected to the different types of load or a gravity load, then automatically it will possess, or we are going to calculate the shear force and bending moment for that particular member or a beam. So this is what analysis means. For a given beam subjected to the various types of load, we are going to analyze, or we are going to calculate the shear force and bending moment. So that is what the meaning of analysis. This is also you have been done in the strength of material and analysis of determinate structures class. Next, in continuation with this shear force and bending moment, what you are going to do, that you are going to learn in this particular module. Okay. So first let me classify, or let me say what are all the things you are going to learn here. So in this particular module number 2, here you are going to analyze singly reinforced beams, next doubly reinforced beams, and the next flanged beams or flanged sections. So these are the different types of beams you are going to analyze in your particular module number 2. So these are all the various beams you are going to analyze. Let us get into one by one. Okay. So the first one is singly reinforced beam. Okay. So let me first define what is the meaning of singly reinforced beam. Okay. So in module number 1, you people have learned why the reinforcement should be provided in the reinforced concrete structural element. The reinforcement should be embedded or provided inside the concrete element or concrete structure in order to resist or in order to make a concrete strong enough to resist a tensile stresses. Okay, and also you have been learned those tensile stresses will be there below the neutral axis. Below the neutral axis. Okay, so this is the concept you have been learned. The same thing I am going to repeat here. Okay, so consider a beam. Okay, and this will be a neutral axis. Okay, so in this particular beam, I am going to reinforce or provide a steel, okay, below the neutral axis to take care of tensile stresses in the beam, or in order to make a concrete beam strong enough to resist a tensile stresses. Okay, if this reinforcement is provided, only on one side, especially or specifically on tension side of a beam, then it is called singly reinforced beam. Okay, I am going to repeat. If a reinforcement is provided only on one side, specifically on tension side to take care of tensile stresses, then that particular beam is called as singly reinforced beams. Is it clear? Okay, so you already came to know why you are going to provide the reinforcement. So reinforcement, because this will be your compression zone and this will be your tension zone. So the reinforcement will be provided on the tension side to take care of the tensile stresses effectively. So this is what a singly reinforced. Have been provided the reinforcement in one direction. Okay. Next, or one side I can say. Okay. Next. So after coming to know about the definition of singly reinforced, this singly reinforced beam, okay, we are going to singly reinforced beam, we are going to learn or classify into, okay, rectangular beams. We are going to deal with rectangular singly reinforced beams. Okay, in this rectangular, we are going to deal with specifically, okay, that is simply supported rectangular singly reinforced beam, and then cantilever rectangular singly reinforced beams. Okay, so you are going to analyze this simply supported rectangular singly reinforced beam and also cantilever rectangular singly reinforced beams. Is it clear? Okay, so for this particular type of beam, we are going to analyze or calculate, okay, the shear force or a bending moment. Okay, so before getting into the aspects, okay, let us define once again what is simply supported beam. Maybe you have been defined this particular type of beam in engineering mechanics, strength of material class. Once again I am going to define. A simply supported is a type of a beam in which one end will be pinned support, and that is or hinged support, and other end will be roller support. That is what called simply supported beam. One end will be hinged support or pinned support, and other end will be roller support. That will be called as simply supported beam. Okay, what about cantilever? A cantilever type of a beam is one end is fixed and the other end is free. Okay, so this type is called as cantilever beam. Okay, so with these basic things, now let us get into the analysis part. Okay. Okay. Next, so in the analysis or for performing or while calculating or doing the problems, certain things we need to know. Certain things we need to know. Okay. Let me, what I can say, call it as a note. Let me call it as a note. Note to remember. So notes to remember or to follow while doing analysis. Okay. Because without knowing these things, okay, you cannot perform the analysis. So first I will, okay, discuss the various concepts so that you will be more familiar with those concepts, so that you can apply that and you can do the analysis. Is it clear? So let me know first one. Let me define what is effective cover and or effective depth. Let me first define effective cover and effective depth. So in order to explain this, I will take a diagram. So this will be the cross section of a beam with a width, let me call it as B, with a overall depth capital D. Okay, and this will be the what I can say, the neutral axis once again. Okay, and then let me call this as a reinforcement. It has been provided with a reinforcement because in the cross section, okay, you can see the reinforcement like this. Okay. Next, so this particular thing will be called as, let me call it as D dash effective cover, and let me call this particular thing as small letter d, that is effective depth. Okay. See, consider, so okay, this is the cross section of a beam. Cross section of a beam. In the last diagram I have been written the longitudinal section. Okay, so this will be the longitudinal section of a beam. Okay, it will be like this. Neutral axis. Okay, and then this will be the span of L. Okay, and I have been provided the reinforcement like this. Okay. Now, this is a longitudinal section of a beam. Longitudinal section of a beam, and this will be cross section of a beam. Now, exactly neutral axis, first thing you know that it is a rectangular section. Okay, exactly at the middle portion the neutral axis will come. So neutral axis will divide the mirror image. Okay, that is called symmetrical section. Next, the next thing we need to observe here is, this is the width of a beam denoted by small letter b. Okay, width of a beam denoted by small letter b. And next, this is the capital D or overall depth of a beam. This is capital D or overall depth of a beam. Okay, na? Next, this will be the three reinforcement that have been provided. Okay, and this particular distance, that is the neutral axis or centroidal axis of a steel up to the edge of a concrete member, it is called as effective cover. Effective cover. Okay. So now effective cover in bracket D dash equal to this will be called as clear cover. Okay. This will be called as clear cover, or sometimes in some textbooks they are also going to mention it as cover. Okay. A cover is nothing but it is defined as, or a clear cover is defined as, it is the distance between the bottommost portion of a reinforcing bar or a steel to the edge of a concrete or a beam. Then it is called as cover or clear cover. Okay. Then effective cover is equal to clear cover, okay, clear cover plus diameter of a bar that has been provided divided by 2. Okay, because this particular bar has been divided into 2 portions. So exactly mathematically if I am going to calculate, okay, then it is clear cover distance plus diameter of a bar by 2 will give you the effective cover. Okay, and you already know why this cover has been provided. So this cover blocks are a cover we are going to provide inside the concrete element to protect the reinforcing steel from corrosion. Okay, because the concrete structure element or a steel, okay, will be very prone to corrosion. In order to protect this rebar or reinforcing steel, okay, we are going to provide this cover to take care or to protect the reinforcing bar or a rebar. Okay, and this particular effective cover which we are going to use, okay, while doing the analysis of a beam. So hence you must understand what is the concept, because in the problem sometimes they may give directly effective cover, sometimes you need to calculate effective cover by using a clear cover. Please note the point, there is a lot of difference between a cover and an effective cover. Okay, both are not same. Please note this point. It may be called as cover or clear cover. This is one and the same. Okay, effective cover is nothing but a clear cover. Okay, a clear cover, that is edge of a concrete member to the bottommost portion of a rebar is called clear cover, plus diameter of a bar by 2 will give you effective cover distance, that is called D dash. Is it clear? Is it clear? Next, effective depth. Effective depth. Effective depth will be denoted by small letter d. Effective depth denoted by small letter d. Okay, so effective depth can be calculated once the effective cover is known. If effective cover is known, then we can easily calculate effective depth. Okay, so therefore, how will you calculate? Overall depth. Overall depth, capital D minus effective cover D dash will give you the effective depth of a beam. Effective depth of the beam. Is it clear? So this is regarding effective cover and effective depth. So I have been explained how to calculate effective cover and effective depth in the beam. So this is the things you require while doing the analysis. Is it clear? Okay. And the next concept we need to know is to calculate a superimposed loads on various types of a beam. Superimposed, or I can say live load on the beam, or various types of a beam. In analysis or in the problem, they might ask, calculate the superimposed load for so and so type of a beam. Okay, hence how to calculate this superimposed load? Okay, I am going to explain by taking a beam, a different types of beam, that is simply supported beam and cantilever beam, subjected to different types of loads. How to calculate the superimposed load or live load on the beam. Let us go, okay, one by one. The first one is a simply supported beam carrying UDL. Simply supported beam carrying UDL. Okay, let me write down the diagram. Okay, and this will be the span of L. Okay, it will be subjected to W. Okay, UDL of intensity W kilonewton per meter. Okay, so now we know that the maximum bending moment for a simply supported beam will be given by WL square by B8. Okay, so this will be acting at a center. Okay, the maximum bending moment exactly will come at the center. Okay, you know from basic elementary class that maximum bending moment will be M is equal to WL square by 8. Now the very important thing you need to observe here is, okay, if I take a total load acting on the beam, okay, if I take a total load acting on the beam, then okay, it will be denoted by dead load plus live load acting on the beam. See here, a total load acting on the beam will be discretized into dead load acting on the beam and live load acting on the beam. Is it clear? Okay, so now dead load means the self weight of a member. A self weight of a member, that is what dead load. Okay, for example, the dead load is equal to the width. How to calculate the dead load? Width, okay, multiply by the depth, overall depth, multiply by the density of a concrete or a reinforced concrete will give you the dead load. I will repeat, dead load is equal to B, that is width, into overall depth, that is capital D, into density of concrete will be your dead load. Okay, these things we are going to calculate in the analysis part. Okay, in the problem I am going to explain how to calculate that. Okay, WLL, that is the live load. What will be the superimposed load acting on the beam? Okay, and please remember or note, very important thing, always the dead load will be UDL. Okay, always the dead load will be acting as UDL on the beam. But live load may change. It may be UDL, it may be point load, it may be 2-point load, anything. But the dead load will always be acting as uniformly distributed because the cross-section element of a rectangular beam will be same throughout. Okay, hence, okay, it will be acting as uniformly distributed load on a beam. Okay, so this is the way we are going to consider or calculate. Okay, so therefore, if I want live load, now WLL is equal to total load minus WDL. So this is the way we are going to calculate the superimposed load acting on the simply supported beam subjected to UDL. Okay, is it clear? Okay. Likewise, if I take some more example, For example, if I take simply supported beam, okay, with, okay, what I can say, point load. If I are going to consider the point load, okay, then automatically the point load, let me consider it as P kilonewton, then a maximum bending moment then will be occur at once again at the center, but the maximum bending moment will be given by WL to the power, WL divided by 4. Okay. Next, same way, how to calculate this? Okay, that is same thing, capital W is equal to dead load plus live load. Okay, dead load plus live load. Okay, and this live load is equal to once again capital W minus WDL. Okay, capital W minus WDL. Okay, so you already been explained, that is WDL will be your, now if I want to write this, okay, then automatically I can write WLL is equal to PL divided by 4, that is the load acting on the beam, okay, minus, okay, WDL, that is dead load on the beam. As I stated, it will be UDL. If a UDL is acting on the simply supported beam, means the formula will be WL square by 8. So hence the live load will be is equal to, okay, PL by 4, that is the load acting on the beam, minus WL square by 8. Here also if you want to substitute, okay, the total load is WL square by 8 minus the dead load is also WL square by 8. Okay, but the intensity will be varying. Okay, the intensity will not be same. Is it clear? I can also write this. That is WL square by 8 minus WL square by 8 here. Okay. So this is the way, okay, we can calculate for a simply supported beam, okay, with the superimposed loads. Okay. Next, like that, if I take a cantilever beam, with UDL, once again write down, the cantilever beam is defined as one end fixed and the other end will be free. Okay, so if I consider the beam like this with a UDL of intensity W, then the maximum bending moment, okay, that is going to happen at the support. So hence M is equal to W intensity multiply by, okay, L span into L by 2, that is WL square by 2. So these things you know from the elementary class. The same thing I am going to repeat here. Once again the same thing, okay, the same concept, that is W total load is equal to the dead load on the cantilever beam plus superimposed load, and then superimposed load is equal to WL square by 2 minus those dead load, WDL. So like this we are going to calculate for a cantilever beam. Okay. Next, if I am going to subject to the what I can say, the same beam with a point load, cantilever beam with combination of loads, that is with UDL and point load, and that point load will be acting at free end. So this is the way, Okay, then it will be subjected to UDL of W and then P. Okay, if I am going to subject a cantilever beam with a combination of UDL plus point load, then M is equal to same thing. Due to UDL, it will be WL square by 2. Due to point load, it will be P into L. P into L. Okay, so this is the way you are going to calculate. Okay, like this you are going to come across the various types of a beam. Okay, and you need to calculate superimposed loads. In the analysis, okay, they will ask calculate the superimposed load with UDL or with a point load for a particular beam. Okay, so with the following these conditions, we are going to calculate the superimposed loads. Any doubts in this? Any doubts? Okay. The next, this is the cone concept. Next, the one more concept you need to remember for performing analysis is effective span. Effective span. You came to know about what is effective depth. You came to know about what is effective cover. Okay, and one more thing is what is effective span. Okay, so consider a beam, longitudinal section of a beam, okay, which will be resting on a wall, or it will be supported on a wall. Okay, then this particular distance will be called as, okay, that is a distance between support to support. The inner distance between a support to support is called as clear span. It will be called as clear span. Okay, and then effective span is defined as center to center distance between the supports. It is defined as the distance between center to center of a supports, exactly half of this. So this particular distance is called as effective span, and this effective span has been beautifully highlighted in the IS 456. See, this is the codal practice we are going to follow, that is IS 456 2000, and this particular code will be used for analysis on design of RC structural elements, and this particular code we will be called as mother code for all the civil engineering codes. Okay, so we are going to follow the guidelines written by the Bureau of Indian Standards, and okay, IS 456 2000, it has got 5 amendments. Okay, amendment means the updation. Okay, year by year they are going to update certain things. Okay, so those will be called as amendments. Okay, so this is the codal practice or code or Bureau of Indian Standards or guidelines you are going to follow to analyze and design. Okay, so this effective span also, they have been clearly mentioned how to calculate or how to consider the effective span of a beam. Okay, so in page number 34 of IS 456 2000, page number 34 of IS 456 2000, okay, they have been clearly specified. Clause 22.2, page 34 of IS 456 2000 has clearly mentioned how to consider or calculate effective span of a beam. So for example, the first one is simply supported beam. For a simply supported beam, okay, they have been given, the codal practice have been given, okay, has been clearly mentioned. I will just read out. The effective span of a member that is not built integrally with its support shall be taken as clear span plus effective depth of a beam. I will repeat. The effective span of a member, that is for a beam, that is not built integrally, okay, that is not rigidly supported, okay, integrally with its support shall be taken as clear span plus effective depth of a beam. Okay, that means effective span is equal to clear span plus effective depth of a beam. Effective depth of a beam. That is the one thing. And one more thing they have been given is, okay, or center to center between the supports, or center to center distance, center to center distance of supports. Okay, now the two condition has been given. So in these two conditions we need to consider whichever is less, okay. That means effective span I will be denoted by LE, okay, LE, okay, L suffix E, small l suffix E, small letter E, will be calculated for a simply supported beam as per class 22.2, page 34 of IS 456-2000 as effective span is equal to clear span, okay, plus effective depth of a beam, or center to center distance of support. So in this, whichever is less, we are going to consider as effective span for a simply supported beam. Okay, is it clear? Likewise, if I consider the cantilever beam, okay, it will be considered as has been clearly written. For a cantilever beam, the effective, I will read once, the effective length of a cantilever shall be taken as its length to the face of a support plus half the effective depth except where it forms the end of a continuous beam, where the length to the center of support, shall be taken. That means, okay, we are going to consider like this, okay, if this is a beam, okay, exactly cantilever beam, okay, from the center of this, okay, up to the end, we are going to consider the effective span of a beam. So that means they have been clearly mentioned over there. The effective length of a cantilever shall be taken as its length to the face of the support, that is inner face of the support, plus half the effective depth, where it forms the end of a continuous beam, that means up to the free end of a beam, where the length to the center of the support shall be taken. So like this, we are going to consider the effective span for a simply supported and a cantilever beam. Okay. So by these basic things like effective span, we came to know what is effective span, what is effective cover, okay, what is effective depth, okay. And we also came to know how to calculate or how to consider the superimposed load for various types of a beams. With these preliminary concepts or with these particular concepts, let us go ahead with analysis. In singly reinforced, I have been bifurcated into two types of problem. Okay, I have been highlight now. Okay, I am going to highlight now. Okay, so hence let us go with the type 1 singly reinforced problems. Type 1. Okay. Let me write down heading. Please write down type 1 problems. Type 1 problems. Okay, that means a problem of one particular type. Okay, in this particular problem, okay, the data will be given. So because it is very important, okay, you people need to know in while analyzing or while designing is, first thing we need to write down what are all the data they have been given. Later on, based upon the data, what is the thing you need to calculate, you must know. Okay, then you need to use a formula and substitute the data, okay, based upon the conditions given. That's why I am going to write down what will be the given data in the type 1. Okay, so in the type 1, first thing they are going to give a given data. Given data, they will give size of a beam. They will give size of a beam, that is B and D, or sometimes they also give effective depth directly. I will teach you. Okay, if overall depth is given, how to calculate effective depth. I have been highlighted in the formula, but in problem I am going to show you how to calculate. Okay. Next, they are going to give grade of concrete and steel. This is very, very important, or preliminary data we require while doing analysis. You people have already been read a minimum grade of concrete to be used in reinforced concrete structural element is M20, not lesser than that. Okay, a minimum grade of concrete to be used while performing analysis of a beam is M20. Okay, and steel, okay, we are also going to teach you 250 steel, 415, 500, 550. All the grades of steel we are going to use. But depending upon the grades of steel, we need to go ahead with the problem. Okay, so grade of steel is next thing. Next, they are going to give the area of a steel. Area of a steel. Okay, area of a steel they are going to give. Okay, what is the amount of steel they have been provided inside the member? What is the amount of steel? That is called AST. Okay, area of steel. Okay, that has been provided to take care of a beam. Okay, next thing is span. Okay, they have been given a span. Okay, so these data they are going to give. Okay, size of the beam, grade of a concrete, area of a steel, and span. And what is the required thing you need to calculate? Okay, to find, okay, we are going to find, that is, the first one is the depth of a neutral axis. Number 1, depth of neutral axis. So this is the first thing we are going to calculate, depth of neutral axis. Okay, second thing, maximum depth, whether the calculated depth is within the depth of a neutral axis or more than the maximum depth of the neutral axis. That's why we need to know what is the maximum depth of neutral axis. Okay, and the next, we need to decide the section. We need to decide the section. That means you are going to calculate the depth of the neutral axis. Next, we are going to calculate the maximum depth of the neutral axis. Then you need to check whether the depth of the neutral axis is lesser than maximum depth or greater than maximum depth. You already know from module number 1, if the depth of the neutral axis is lesser than maximum depth of the neutral axis, then it is called as under reinforced section. That is, if XU by D is lesser than XU max by D, then it is called as under reinforced section. If XU by D is more than XU max by D, then it is called as over reinforced section. If XU by D is equal to XU max by D, then it is called as balanced section. That is what deciding the section. Okay. Why we need to decide? Why we need to decide? Based upon the decide of a section, we are going to calculate ultimate moment of resistance of a section. Ultimate moment of resistance of a section. If it is under reinforced, what will be the ultimate moment of resistance of a section? If it is over reinforced, what will be the ultimate moment of a resistance of a section? Is it clear? So based upon the section decided, you need to calculate the ultimate moment of resistance for that section. Is it clear? Next, the last thing, sometime they are also going to ask superimposed load. Superimposed load, or I can say live load acting on the beam. Live load acting on the beam. So these are all the things you are going to calculate step by step. Okay, to decide or to calculate the singly reinforced section. This is the type 1 problem. Okay, size of the beam will be given, grade of concrete and steel will be given, area of steel will be given, span will be given. Okay, based upon these preliminary data, okay, we are going to calculate these things. This is type 1 problem. So with these basics, let us work out problems. Is it clear? Let us go ahead with the problems. Okay, or analysis. Okay. Let me take a problems. Let me write down. I will clear off this. Write down a rectangular RC beam, a rectangular reinforced concrete beam, a rectangular reinforced concrete beam having breadth 250 mm, 250 millimeter is reinforced with 4 bars of 20 mm dia, 4 bars of 20 mm dia on the tension side, at an effective depth of, at the effective depth of 650 millimeter, at the effective depth of 650 millimeter, full stop. Use M20 concrete, and Fe415 steel, full stop. Determine the ultimate moment of resistance. Determine the ultimate moment of resistance. Okay. So this is the problem they have been given. Okay. A rectangular reinforced concrete beam having a breadth 250 millimeter is reinforced with 4 bars of 20 mm dia on the tension side at the effective depth of 650 millimeter, full stop. Use M20 concrete and Fe415 steel, full stop, determine the ultimate moment of resistance of a section. Okay, of the section. So, this is the usual practice you need to follow. First, write down the given data. Write down the given data. They have been given a breadth, that is B is equal to 250 millimeter. Okay, the breadth is 250 millimeter. Okay, and then overall depth. Okay, they have not been given directly, they have been given effective depth of 650. So effective depth will be denoted by small d is equal to 650. How to define effective depth? Effective depth will be defined as it is the distance between the centroidal axis of a steel to the extreme compression fiber of a beam. Okay, that is from top edge of a compression fiber of a beam to the center of a steel. Okay, I am going to write the diagram now. Okay, I am going to show you. Next, reinforced with 4 bars of 20 mm dia. That is, they have been given in terms of number. They have been given in terms of number. 4 bars of 20 mm dia. Okay. That means we need to convert that diameter into area. Okay. Since it is a circular one, okay, the area of a circular bars is pi by 4 into 20 square. Pi by 4 into 20 square. Since 4 bar have been used, multiply it by 4. Okay. Okay, since they have been given in numbers, convert that particular, okay, this number and diameter of the bar into area. Okay, since it is a circular bar, okay, I am going to use a formula, that is area is equal to pi d square by 4 into number. Okay, and this workouts to be 1256.64 millimeter square. Please be specific and careful with units. Okay, millimeter. Okay, then since the diameter is also in millimeter, so obviously it will be millimeter square. Okay, next, they have been given FCK. FCK means what? Characteristic strength of a concrete, or the grade of concrete they have been given 20 MPa or 20 Newton per millimeter square. Okay. Then steel, that is heel strength, will be 415 Newton per millimeter square. Okay. So these are all the data they have been given. Okay, as have been written in type 1. That is size of the beam, area of a steel, then grade of concrete and steel. Okay. So with this, let us calculate ultimate moment of resistance of a section. I am going to write down the diagram first, how exactly it looks. So this is what the cross section. Okay. So in this particular cross section, okay, so this will be the neutral axis and B will be 250 millimeter, okay, and it will be provided with the four numbers of okay, bars of 20 mm dia, 4 bars of 20 mm dia, okay, and they have been given this effective depth. This is what have been defined: centroid of a steel, center of a steel to the extreme edge of a compression fiber. Okay, that is what effective depth D. Effective depth D, they have been given directly 650 millimeter. Sometimes in the problem they are going to give the effective cover. and overall depth. Then overall depth minus effective cover will give you effective depth. In this problem, you need not to worry, directly they have been given effective depth. Okay, so whatever the things they have been given or written, have been notated pictorially. Okay, next, let us calculate one by one. So to find, as I have been stated, the very first thing is to calculate depth of neutral axis. Depth of neutral axis. Okay, that is xu by d. How to calculate the depth of neutral axis? This is the question. Okay, now the depth of the neutral axis you can calculate, okay, from, okay, they might have told in the module number 1, otherwise I am going to, okay, make you to listen. See, once again from the table 5, IS 456, they have been clearly specified, okay, how to calculate the depth of the neutral axis. In Annex G, in Annex G 1.1a, they have been clearly specified how to calculate the depth of the neutral axis. That is, I will write as per clause G 1.1a, okay, page, okay, I will also write page number 96 of IS 456 2000, okay, IS 456 2000, okay, is xu by d equal to 0.87 FYAST divided by 0.36 FCK into BD. Okay, if D is there on the left hand side, right hand side also D will be there. You can cancel this and you can treat only XU also. But in a hurry, if you substitute XU by D is equal to 0.87 FIST divided by 0.36 FCKB, then the problem goes wrong. So please clearly see the formula and write down the formula from the code properly and then proceed. So now substitute everything. XU by D equal to, first while substituting keep in your mind what is the units of Fi, AST, FCK, B and D. Be specific with the units, then only you substitute. Okay, so that is 0.87 into Fy. Fy is the grade of steel, that is 415. Then AST 1256.6 divided by 0.36 into grade of concrete 20 into B, width of the beam 250 into overall depth, sorry, into effective depth 650. So this workouts to be 0.27. XU by D is equal to 0.27. Okay. Then step number 2, maximum depth of neutral axis. Maximum depth of neutral axis. How to calculate maximum depth of neutral axis? So this is also there in the code book. Okay, or I can say limiting values. XU max by D or XU limit by D. Both are same. Okay, so this is also there. Okay, in the code you can see, that is page number 70. Page number 70. Okay, so page number 70, they have been written, that is the limiting value of depth of neutral axis for different grades of steel based upon assumption in class 38.1 are as follows. That means this limiting depth of neutral axis will be given based upon the grade of a steel. Like for example, if it is a, let me classify Fy and this is XU max by D. Okay, for 250 For 250 yield strength steel, it is 0.53. 0.53. For 415, it is 0.48. Okay, for 500, it is 0.46. Okay, so this is the limiting or maximum depth of neutral axis. They have been given in page number 70. Note, okay, based upon the grades or yield strength of a steel. Now, the grade or yield strength of a steel is 415. So, for a 415 grade steel or yield strength of steel, the XU max by D is equal to XU max by D is equal to 0.48. Please write down the statement here. Okay, as per, since Fe415 steel is given, for that XU max by D is equal to 0.48. Okay, that is what the step number 2. Next, deciding the section. Now, deciding the section. Okay, deciding the section means whether it is under reinforced or over reinforced. Now you can see XU by D is lesser than XU max by D. Am I right? You write down, since XU by D lesser than XU max by D, okay, then the section is under reinforced. Then the section is under reinforced. Okay, is it clear? So now for this under reinforced section, how to calculate the ultimate moment or moment of resistance? How to calculate ultimate moment of resistance or moment of resistance? For this, okay, also you need to be very careful while calculating moment of resistance also. Now, once again go to the Annex G, page number 96. Page number 96 has clearly mentioned, if class G.1b, if the value of XU by D is lesser than the limiting value or XU max by D, then calculate the moment of resistance by the following equation, that is class G 1.1b. Then if XU by D is equal to the limiting value, that is XU max by D or more, then the moment of resistance of a section will be calculated by the following expression. That means what I am trying to say here is class G 1.1b holds good for reinforced condition, class G 1.1c holds good for balanced and over reinforced sections. Is it clear? Now the section is under reinforced. Section is under reinforced. Hence you can write down here, as per the class G 1.1b page 96 of IS 456 2000 for under reinforced section, the formula is, okay, mu is equal to 0.87 Fy into AST into D into 1 minus AST Fy divided by BD FCK. So this is the formula we are going to use as per class G 1.1b to calculate moment of resistance for under reinforced section. Okay, now substitute 0.87 Fy is 415 into area of steel, we already know that is 1256.6 into effective depth is 650 into 1 minus, once again AST 1256.6 into Fy 415 divided by width of the beam 250 into overall depth. Overall depth is effective depth is 650 into FCK, be careful, 20. I have been substituted 0.87 into 415 into 1256.6 into 650 into 1 minus 1256.6 area of steel into 415 divided by 250 into 650 into 20. So this workouts to be okay, 261.60 10 to the power of 6 Newton millimeter. You are going to get the answer, okay, you are going to get the answer in Newton millimeter, or else you can express the answer also in kilonewton meter as 261.60 kilonewton meter. So like this, okay, we are going to calculate the ultimate moment of resistance or moment of resistance for various sections. So now today we have been solved for underinforced section, like for various consideration, that is for overinforced, balanced section. So we are going to calculate in the next class. So for this, okay, I am going to conclude the today's class. In today's class I have been explained, okay, the singly reinforced beam, what is the meaning of singly reinforced beam. Then we have been classified the singly reinforced beams as rectangular beam into simply supported and cantilever. We have been defined simply supported and cantilever. Later on, to do the analysis, we need to consider certain concepts like effective cover, effective depth, effective span, how to calculate superimposed load for various types of beam, and we have also worked out one particular problem. Is it clear? Okay, so hope you have understood properly. Okay, thank you for this session.